Welcome, welcome, brother. What's going on?
Good to see you here again.
Always good to see you. It's my favorite time when it's you and I sitting in this space together.
Yeah, no doubt. We got a lot of topics to cover today. Huh?
Yeah, I'm so happy to be doing our podcast. Listen, I needed my therapy. I've been missing out on it. This is like my therapy. It's the space to like dump on you. What's going on with this hat I see?
And actually, Tasia bought me this hat for one of the Christmas past. So, what it has is it has a light on it. So
Uh-huh.
I guess she got it for me because she was thinking, when you can't see, you
You can just
can just hit this thing. So I thought it was cool, but it's cold out here. So I was out there earlier, so I just grabbed grabbed the hat. But I've been using it as my preferred skull woman.
it makes you look, I don't know, it's got this mixed professional mix, like I don't know what you're about to do look to it.
Well, it's funny. I went down to the DC office, right?
Huh?
It's a new lady that's working down there, and I mistakenly had like a package delivered there, so I was picking it up, and she thought it was a camera that was recording her.
Oh, you can't be recording me. I'm
Are
not like.
you recording me? I said, I'm not recording you, woman. This is a light. I know. She's like, you recording me? I said, no, man, I don't do that.
Listen, this ain't the district we know. These some special,
Yeah,
people that walk around with what are the NDAs? These are real important
yeah,
people.
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
so happy we're back in the Rose Garden. We've had um, a considerable break just because it was the holiday, and for us, we had a lot happen in this holiday time. And for many people, the holidays aren't, always the best time. And for us too, I think by history, we've had time where holidays haven't been great. But that's what we're going to kind of dive into a little bit today. Talk about, family gatherings and what lessons we learned from it and how we've changed over time. But before that, right, before we talk about all the family gatherings, have you seen, my family keeps growing. My son is certainly very excited about adding to our Black population, which I'm very happy about. I love my son and my daughter. But we had our grandchild, your great nephew, came a little early. That's been a lot of fun and for us, and also some concern because he's still in the NICU. But the latest update is that he's off all the breathing machines, and they're just waiting for him to feed. And if anybody knows the Jordan Jameses, we people that like food, right? Our grandmother was a cook of the most extraordinary kind, and she cooked raw vegetables, good fresh meat, no processed food. We didn't grow up with processed food, did we, brother?
No, not at all. We had an actual garden outside. It's
Hmm.
funny, right? You think about these things that we had when we were younger that we probably didn't appreciate at the time. But now, when you think about it, man, we had a really full-fledged garden outside where you could go out there and get a watermelon, you could get cantaloupe, you could get
Squash.
tomatoes,
Yeah.
you could get
Yeah.
asparagus, you could get mint, you could
Yeah.
get string beans.
Yeah.
We had
Yeah.
everything. We had apple trees, plum
But you
trees.
gotta tell the people how much, we knew about the garden because we was working in the garden, right? So we can't appreciate someone when you was one of those farm helpers,
When your child slave labor.
We were. We were actually, however, that was a G moment. Like if you think about how grandma and Uncle James figured out how to get us to work for free. And I'm talking about hard work. If you have not worked on a farm, you don't understand that it's labor. Okay. And how old, like, how old you would
Oh,
think
we
that
had we like 4 years, 4 years, 5 years old. He was really young.
we
It's
were
it's crazy. It's like you wouldn't be able, but they didn't convince us to work. We had no choice. There's absolutely
young?
no choice in the matter. You know what I mean? We
Right.
had to work.
Right. But that work ethic has kind of helped all of us, I would say. I think if you look at all of us today, we are pretty hard workers. Like, I know if y'all know my people, my siblings, 1, 2 o'clock in the morning is like a 12 o'clock in the afternoon for them. They don't have no problem sending text messages, emails like you supposed to be up at 1 o'clock in the morning. Now I get my rest. I took the more older part of that, and I get my sleep. 9 o'clock, my brain shuts off, or maybe about 6 o'clock. Really, I can't stay up like I used to when I was getting my PhD and stuff. But I'm in the bed now about 9, 10 o'clock. It's not even fun. I don't even want to watch a movie. I used to stay up and watch Martin, and I know you've been sending me those Martin clips, and it's really bringing back. But that was 11 o'clock when or what was it, 10 or 11 that he used to come on back in
I
the
don't
day.
even remember what time he used to come on back in the day, but that was a classic show.
It was, but it was late, right? And it was like I stayed up for that. And I'm thinking, like, if now Martin came on now or any kind of show like Martin, I couldn't hang up. Like, it'd be just like I couldn't even wait. And I mean, I would refuse to go to sleep until I saw that show, which I'm so happy that we get to share that laugh. One of the things that, you and I have committed to doing is every day chuckling to the pit of our stomach. And I swear, when you send me those clips, I am like laughing, especially the Shanae one where he
Oh
did the
yes, it's just a get off my back, get off my
that she Shanae had boundaries. Martin was
yeah,
trying to
yeah,
train us black folks on how, in a very colorful way that boundaries were necessary.
right.
You remember that? So I've been enjoying that. I have really been. It's been bringing me back to some time. But now I'm like, I couldn't even. I couldn't even on my best day want to do that. Like stay up.
You got structure, parameter in your life. You know what I mean? You got someone that probably requires your time and all this stuff. Your husband probably like, hey, get off that computer, come to bed, or do this stuff. Whereas like if you're not in my situation where I'm a free agent at the present moment, you know what I mean? I don't really have to worry about those types of things. Even though those are nice to have. They're nice to have, you know?
Right. What you talking about? The comforts of so my husband is very much not a bossy husband, but he does do, uh I've noticed over our 20 something year marriage, he does passive, he shows me without telling me. So he'll start turning off lights, asking you how much more time you got. The other day I went upstairs and a movie was queued and was paused, right? He didn't say nothing. He was getting all in the bed and everything. And I said, what we doing? Watching a movie tonight? And he said, girl, you see what's on that TV, right? In his little New Orleans way. I've learned that New Orleans men in particular definitely communicate differently, right? I always tell my husband when you're done with something, you're done with it. And he don't like to be repeating himself, even though they do repeat themselves naturally in conversation. Like, if my husband likes some food, he'll say it's good, good, good. I'm like, well, the first good was all you needed to say. But if you listen to like New Orleans people, they like good, good, good. That girl fat, fat. He'll keep saying something. But his real heart is, I done said it once, and I don't want to have to keep talking about it. And then he look at you like with this look, and I'm like, who are you talking to? But I understand it. It's all these kind of like nonverbals, and I don't even play the game no more. Like, oh, I'm not going to do what he say because I don't have no problem doing what he say. Truly, it helps me sleep better when we have our stuff, like the TV. And he was the person who I was sitting up all night watching Martin with, and we have our own little routine. So I'm so happy that we continue to have a good routine. So you may be on a little something that for me I got to get back into order differently than you, Mr. Freelance, but you ain't no freelance. I'm sure somebody's keeping that bed warm at night.
Right now, but a time in time it will come. But, sometimes they say that the supreme architect of all reality knows more than we know. Right,
Okay.
right now, my purpose is to be able to burn the light at both ends. And if I had somebody encumber me in that way, they might be slowing up my path of progression. So who
Okay.
knows? But I mean, whatever it is, I'm content. I'm happy and feel content with it.
Well, that's good. That's good. I'm happy. Content is a good place to be. Now, let's go into how the holidays were for us. First of all, this was the first year I would say that everybody's grown, right? Our children are all grown. And so, well, no, no, you got four names over there.
But he's still a minor.
Yeah, I don't think four names believes that he's grown, although he has grown ways. Seems like he's pretty independent. But he's not grown in the sense that, he comes home every day. He still has to check in with you. So we do have, how was his holiday season?
Well, I think he had an exceptional holiday season because, for the holidays, this is one of his favorite ones because he's a guy that loves to get gifts.
How do you know this about him?
That's the way to that man's heart. It's funny because he is the type of person that if he knows that you're gonna give him something, he will be like a dog on a bone trying to figure out what that is and convince you to give it to him right away. So if you were to tell him, "Hey, I got a gift for you, and I'm gonna give it to you in a week from now," that would drive him crazy.
How do you know this? What have you learned about him?
He would want to know, like, what is it? When are you gonna give it to me? Why can't you just give it to me now or whatever? So for holidays and past, I didn't used to put like gifts in view. Like if you put gifts underneath the tree, they'd be shaking the gifts, doing this stuff, and then they want to know what is it. Well, can I just go ahead and open it now? You know what I mean? But he would really be going crazy off that, you know.
So that's
And
always been him. That's always been him.
yeah, and waiting for countdown the clock for like it to be midnight on Christmas so he could get to open it. But he really does get a lot of joy out of getting any kind of gifts. So for him, it was incredible. But for us, like you said, we had some unexpected deaths, and
Yeah.
so one in the family. But I also had somebody pass away on my team, so in my business family that I work with. I'm really close with, and he we worked with each other for the past 14 years. Really good person, and they both passed away on the same day, both from medical conditions that one would presumably believe is preventable.
Mm,
So for me, I guess it was first of all with our cousin. That situation was terrifying because we actually were brought inside of it through technology. So one of our other cousins FaceTimed us, and that was a catch 22 because truth be told, it was really good to be able to be brought into the moment to remotely extend your presence to be there with him in the end to provide whatever form of comfort that might be. But in the other side of it, you couldn't help but see yourself in him. So to actually see him, which I feel like we getting it from a two-dimensional perspective over the remote video, but the actual people that I saw in the room there with him, that's in real time, real life, seeing the same thing that I'm seeing, but probably having other senses stimulated, like the smells and just the feel, the eerie feel in there and all that that I couldn't really appreciate. But just seeing him like that, it was devastating and
yeah.
terrifying. And it
Yeah.
made me and I had to dive into, well, why is that terrifying to me? Because I've never been one that too particularly clings to life. I'm not really that afraid of death like that. But I guess what's terrifying to me about it was I just realized I'm not ready yet.
Right. Well, when it's in your face like that, I think that's what it would happen for me. And again, for the record, y'all was up late. So I didn't watch the play by play. I know I was receiving the text messages that I didn't actually hear or see until I woke up because I got to get my rest. I don't know about y'all. I wake up early, but I don't stay up late. And one seeing I will can acknowledge and confirm listening to the grief in text message because again you were talking about that two-dimensional, but also listening to the grief. This our particular cousin was you know had a sudden medical situation, and then it seemed like they were getting better, and then it was very clear that that was not going to be the path. But watching that in text message even kind of gripped my heart because this particular cousin was almost a character that was bigger than life, and you could see life and experience life with that person. So the idea of death coming to that particular person always makes you kind of think of your own experience. And I think that's what happens psychologically though in death is that you cannot help, even though I'm going to wrap back around to what you said when you said, you're not a person who's particularly afraid of death, because I think we need a little bit more. I think that's what death does. It makes it, for lack of a better word, real. It makes it say like, this could be me one day, and how am I going to do this, and how will I be received? Matter of fact, that was one of the things that or I at least paid attention to thematically as we were with the family, is people were saying that, will I get this level of reception and love in my at my time? And that's a question. I think that's, again, that's what death does. It brings forth all these questions, but to your bigger point, it brings forth the idea that I ain't ready to go. I don't want this. I'm not, every other instance in life, we are saying, sign me up, coach, for the lottery. Sign me up, for some free stuff. Sign me up. We're quickly throwing our hands in the air, but I'm saying we not when what is that? What's that guy that comes to get you? The Grim Reaper comes by. You say, no, you in the wrong.
Yeah, not
Not
yet.
yet. Not yet. Go to that one. Go to that guy.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think that's the reason why sometimes when people have that philosophy of beginning with the end in mind, for example, I've
Yeah.
always had that. And my thought process on that was that, like you get your affairs in order and then you can live fearlessly, right? So that's why I've always had the live in trust and will and all that stuff in place. But now, so many things have changed since I originally had that I'm a little thrown off on it. Like I'm like I have a whole lot of things in the air right now
Mhm.
that if I got pulled off the board, they're they're unresolved in the sense of
Mhm.
like succession and stuff. And I want to clear that up because I feel like if I had that out the way, then this little concern I had in it wouldn't be there. Because for example, you always think that it's like just for people who come from like a Christian background, they always think that, well, if you're saved, in the end, you can confess your sins and then, God will forgive you and let you in and all this stuff. It could be so swift and all of a sudden that you ain't got a chance to be like, well, forgive me for all this or goodbye and all this stuff. You may not even be able to talk. You might not be able to do any of that.
Because that's what
So
happened with our family member. It was
that's what
they
happened
weren't
with our
able to
family.
talk. They weren't able. So then this is where you go again down to, for those people, is God knows my heart.
You would think that, but I would still say that, I guess the two passings that happened on the same day for me, it was, they had some subtle differences. So like the guy that was working with me, he actually was able to convey to his brother, hey, we got this stuff going on with Xadean, so make sure you take care of him. You know what I mean? And I mean, I guess that kind of was a eerie thing as well because it
Mhm.
it it was touching in a way because I was thinking, wow, in his last moments, he was thinking about me. Out of all the people in the world, he was thinking about the obligations and the duties and responsibilities he has with
Well,
me.
you
And
called
I
them
felt, that
family, you called them family. And so that brings me to kind of an idea in my mind where, clearly, there's going to be people that we experience in these situations that are going to mean more. Right. And so for you, you were important enough. See, there you go with that hat. That hat. Listen, that's a
hey,
beacon.
hey, I just looked at myself in there. I said, what the hell is that thing sounding like that on there? I was like, oh, the light's still on.
That was your beacon. That was your signal. Universal signal. So, but it's interesting how during these gatherings, our gathering in the holiday was because of death, which differently changed that. But we have people that we are going to encounter in this experience that are not family all the time. Yet you can be so non-biologically connected, let's say family, or a husband or somebody, but that can be important to you so that you care enough about them to prepare, for your departure. And I think as, we discuss more our own family, we didn't talk about death and departures. Our family gatherings, for as long as I can remember, were all right now oriented and kind of conflictual, like it always ended in an argument. Somebody happened to be right, a lot of ego fragility, a lot of people um not wanting to take criticism, not wanting, but a lot of people wanting to share opinions and stuff like that. So it's only been in my adult life and really kind of uh as I became a mother, that I've, have really made sure that whatever experience that I'm having with family or how I'm labeling family has been important. But this really kind of was highlighted this year at this juncture because of what happened. Because not only did this funeral bring us all, not only did this funeral kind of was unexpected and make us celebrate somebody that we really love, but it brought us all together. And our family has been fractured, and this particular side of the family, it was our father's side of the family, was the most hurtful part for at least for me, and I'm sure saying that for you. So coming together and experiencing family was very interesting, and being called family was interesting for me. I don't know if it was interesting for you. And I was kind of, what I learned was that you can be absent. Like I didn't have a lot of experience with this side of the family, but they still had a great deal of love. And that was the choice that those people were making. And
That's
I
right.
was making a different choice. I, for many years, had made a different choice not to care about them in this loving way. And so to be greeted with so much love was refreshing. But it also taught me that you don't, some experiences in family aren't because of what you've done, how much you've put in. It's what the other person has decided to cultivate, experience, nourish, even if you were a flaming butthole. Because I can say I've had some experiences where, especially with this side of the family, where I was not my best self. And I had, that Grandma Rose tongue came out. For those of us who knew, she wasn't a person who kept her words to herself. And so I was really I was really impressed with A, myself, because I was so open to receiving, but B, how much they had chosen, even in the light. Because I remember when I saw um, Aunt Tree, she said, "Oh, I've been meaning to call you." And that mouth, that was the first. That was our first. That was our first. That was how she greeted me. So it was clear that I had left an impression that they wanted to finish, but they also wanted me to be left with they gave me the impression that they wanted me to be there. And that was an important lesson this time around. And I don't think we try to take lessons all the time when we're together as family. I think we are, again, there's a lot of ego fragility when families are around. And this year, I know for myself, and I even witnessed it in some of the other people, that was not on the surface. What do you think?
I agree with you. I mean, honestly, I think that, this whole, I like the terminology you use in terms of like the fragility portion of it, because in this situation with family, it's just another form of relationship, right? And in a relationship, the fundamental principle there is you and other, self and other, right? So in this self and other dynamic, it can't be perfect because, you know, there's a there's like a, I guess you would say, a relative reactionary, you know, triggering transactional stuff that happens, right?
Right, right.
And especially when the people are unconscious in that connection. And I feel like the family relationships that we have, they're not ones that we choose, most of the time. So
Hmm.
you're unconsciously forced into having this relationship. And that's why most of the time it's not healthy, right? Because, we still centered in the self, and we're doing things that are catering to the self needs, desires, and attention. But we're not so aware of the other and what the other needs are, what the other experiences is, or, you know, even trying to relate to the other. We're not even most times there.
Do you
So
think
it's all
Black people are taught that though? Like, I would say, like,
about that. I think
you
that's a
see no one. Well, what about, like, because see, you have a different cultural experience because you're one of your partners has been Asian, and I think that they do. From my observation, I don't see their conflict. You
well,
know.
I mean, they do have conflicts. So, like, say for instance, what I see in a lot of what Asian families are saying, there's not a lot of affection there. You
Hmm.
know, Like say like they might be have a family, they've never hugged each other. They don't really be saying that they love each other and stuff like that. But they're showing it maybe in action. Like the father is working really hard. He
Mhm.
might he might be working so much that he don't actually really see the kids. The mother might be doing her thing to support the family and the father and all that stuff. Like, she's cooking, providing food, doing all the stuff that a mother's supposed to do. But she might not be that nurturing.
Mhm.
Want to be like hugging and loving and stuff. So a lot of Asian people don't have that. But they also do have standards that they got to be pushed to, like to excel academically or professionally and stuff like that. And they bring in shame to the family in certain type of ways. They get pressure in that sense. But they don't really have like I've heard a lot of Asian people when they get around like black people, for instance, they'll say like, well, you like to hug each other. You do affectionate things and ways and maybe be like more fun, than what their cultural backgrounds are like. So, but I do think, this life doesn't come with a manual for no one. You know,
Right.
I feel
Right.
like we're all feeling for the edges and trying to figure things out. And most of the time, what we're doing is we're using the examples that we've been shown.
Right.
We
Right.
just when we get put into a role, we start thinking, well, how would this other person have dealt with it? And then we start imitating that person. So large part of life is just imitating stuff. But
Correct.
then it
That
becomes
social behavioral learning, which is very much true. Like I see it, every day. So you're saying, because I really care about Black people, and I really care about healing them, and letting us know, not that I don't care about other people, but letting it be known that we see that it's not normal. And so from your perspective, what we're doing is not normal. And we're not working to cultivate positive interpersonal, or not positive even. We don't even have to label it positive, but interpersonal reactions that include conflicts. Because what you're saying is nobody really knows how to necessarily turn down the ego, but the ego is fractured in conflict. So then we have to make choices, which is what I was talking about, right? With the that family, that after I have been so defensive towards them, they made a choice to still invite me in. So then we have to make choices, and we have to program ourselves to maybe ignore some of those messengers. Like we love, we sitting in the rose garden in honor of Rose, but was Rose a good model of conflict?
well, I mean, maybe not conflict, but I think in terms of love and action, she was a good model for that. I
Okay.
think the thing is that we are human, right? So there's a dichotomy in human beings. So it's gonna be you'd be hard pressed to find one perfect person, right?
I mean me, but no.
If you Christian people believe that the only perfect person that ever exists was Jesus Christ, right?
Right, right.
But I also see in the story of Jesus, I see imperfections,
Okay.
which, for me, I feel like honestly in the human's life, that's how it's supposed to be.
Right,
That's the part of it that makes us relate, connect to each other.
right.
I would say that to your point on like healing the black family as a whole, where we starting from, which I think a lot of people in our community, from the leadership perspective, was trying to do, is the self awareness first, right? Of
Mhm.
understanding who you are, where you come from, all that, because that confusion is deep
Yes.
rooted in us, right? But here again, we talk about a relationship, right? I mean, even in the Bible, it says something about, what's the most important commandments, and Jesus gonna say, well, one, is basically love God or whatever, and then second is love your neighbor like you love yourself or
Mhm.
whatever. So, all to me, again, that's metaphorically talking about the fundamental principles of relationship, right?
Right.
Self and other, right? So now, if you're dealing with self, I feel like in the black community, for sure, there's a lot of self-destructive behavior, right? So
Where
just
we're
straight
not elevating ourselves in that way. We're not figuring it. I hear you. I like that.
yeah. So off the break, if you just looking at the symptom to identify the root cause, if you see self-destructive behavior, there's an issue with your orientation of the self,
Right, right.
right?
And how and listen, because you got a good point. The orientation of the self, because issues may happen, but that you can't even you don't even know enough to correct. You don't even know enough to correct. Some of the
Eh,
stuff we are doing is in direct correlation to our own demise. We are
yeah.
contributing to our own demise. So listen to that.
So if you don't have like that, so if self is messed up,
Right.
then the interaction with others definitely
Others.
will be.
Right. So you can't do what the Bible told you to do. You can't even do it if you ask. You on your best day. First the commandment says love God. And then the second one is love your neighbor as yourself. Well, you don't think nothing of yourself.
Yeah. How can you love your
Well, then
neighbor?
that means I don't think nothing of you.
Therefore, that now you start seeing the breakdown,
Yeah, you
right?
start seeing the breakdown. So even on your best day, you cannot do it. Now listen. Now, for all those folks who are saying, I be praying every day and I'm asking God to correct my relationships. You must be ask yourself, have you asked God to correct how you see yourself?
Yourself. Yeah,
Right, because for those who have that, and what a good message to end on, because as much as I love hanging out in the rose garden with you, I got a patience coming in, and I know you got money to make. We don't have no money tree in our backyard, not yet, at least. I'm working on digging you one. So I think that is a good place to end, letting people say, as we work on our relationship with how we situate ourselves in this community, it starts with how we see ourselves. And that's a real conversation. And one of the tips I have and tools that I have to kind of do that, because we are always battling ourselves. So is using some positive affirmational statements. And again, that's a tool from the rose garden, because I was thinking about grandma. I've been thinking about her a lot. Always during the holidays, I do think about her a lot, just because for my memory, that's how holiday traditions were born. She was a part of it.
definitely. Yeah,
And one of the gifts of growing up with her was, I don't think we kind of quite knew we were in the distress we were in. Like, did you know you were a laborer? I didn't.
no, we did not know it. We just
We
thought
didn't
that
know it. So there was
like
some deceptive.
I just know that. How could you know?
Because she no, you would know it if you because she was deceptive, because I know she would wake us up every day and say, if you were great, like we were doing well, she'd say, you, Sarita, you're smart, you're kind, you're gonna go to school today and be the best, 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 best. And remember, I'm after some really, really important best. My brother, if you don't know, this mug was born reading. Okay, he's like, he was born with this huge vocabulary, and then he hid it from everybody. He potty trained himself. He walked without any, he was this very mystical person that I'm right behind, and I didn't know how to do any of that. Like, I had to train myself to read. I was having my brother do my homework. Like, I was the one who was really behind in everything. And so, but she would say things like, you're great. And so I didn't go to school thinking I wasn't. But here we are. Here we are, not that great sometimes. We living with our grandparents and didn't even know it, while we were separated from our parents. And so that the way she affirmed us, was a part of the gift she gave to us, because I see now, even when hardships come or when I have my own fragile sense of self, I turn right back around, and I'm talking about almost immediately. And I'm going to give a great example, because I got my eyebrows tattooed for the holiday season. I don't know if you can see how perfect I am right now, but them brows is hitting, honey.
Oh, yeah.
I want that attention. I want that attention. So, but my husband, who didn't quite understand the motivation, right? He said, you don't need that. You're already perfect. And so, what I had to tell him was, I appreciate his reflection of me. But my face is aging. I'm actually, as I look at my face now, I see mom. And she was a middle-aged woman to me, so like the person I'm looking at now, I'm like, oh my god, I'm looking at this middle-aged person. So we're fight, even no matter what, you have this kind of internal, I have a little Sarita in my head that's like, girl, you see all that, you see,
Yeah.
so when but what I did was, so that I wouldn't get too down on myself, I gifted myself these brows, but then I also said that you still have some beauty, and I have to remind myself. And then I'm smart, and and then we've had some work challenges, so that can knock you down some pegs. So I use those same affirmational kind of guidance on myself. And I know how it changes and shapes me for the day, because I can almost deal with any stressor if I remind myself through some real oral dialogue, that positive self-talk. So that's one way. There's other ways that people can do it,
Oh,
but
that's
I
a very
know.
good one.
Right,
That's a
right. And
very
I know
good.
you wake up every day. I mean, I see you, you got eyes. I know you ain't over there saying, I'm ugly and I'm not great,
But
and
it's just, I don't, certain things, it's like I told you one of them days, it's like I wake up and I just can't stand my face today or
yeah,
whatever.
right,
You have those moments or
right.
whatnot, but that's totally fine. As we saying, most people can relate to this is just normal stuff
Yeah.
of being a human being. But I think also, when I started thinking about, this relationships as a whole, right? It's just readiness for relationship, right? Because first of all, you got to deal with self, like we talked about. But then when you're ready, what one of the key indicators in my mind, when you're ready to uh, involve other, is that you feel that you have a lot to give.
Mhm.
Most people they're centered in the place of receiving. You know what I mean? So
Like
like
our dear Amir.
I kid. So I'm glad you brought that up because because when we come into the beginning stages of life, we need a lot. So we're
Take
well, we're takers. We
takers.
get,
Vampires.
yeah, just give me, give me, give me, give me. But when you're ready for the other, what happens is you get to this point where you get to a place where you feel like you have a lot to give someone, the other. And when you get to that place, that's when you know you're ready. I know. Yeah. Hold on one sec. So then
I like.
I would say that to put it into another way, I just recently heard a person saying, don't be a well, be a fountain. You
Hmm.
know, so flow out more than you taking in.
Hmm.
Now, most people would be resistant to that concept
Right,
because their inner child want to still take.
right, right,
But I feel like when you in the mindset of really being able to connect deeply with others, you gonna be thinking about giving. And I feel like that giving principle has a way of granting you more life.
right. And granting you more of a like granting you, uh, situating you in a situation where, an experience where you see how you are being a contributor, and
Yes,
and that's where, in a contributor. And I think Black people have a lot of gifts. We always have. Our family is, I mean, as we look at our family, we really come from a family of entrepreneurs and people who
yes,
are survivors. We're not,
definitely.
we don't lack. We, even if we didn't have it in terms of what would be traditional monetary valuable things, we were, you know all of our people are entrepreneurs, and they get it, they make it happen. And so I want to give that gift to some of supporting other Black entrepreneurs today and every time we kind of come together. And what I'm going to shout out is my dear makeup tattoo artist. She's actually an esthetician. What made it so wonderful, in addition to that she was a young African American female, was that she's a mother, and that her choice, because she could have worked for other people, to work for herself was really driven by the flexibility that's needed to be a mom. And so I'm going to shout out her today and thank her for her extraordinary skill in making me, at least the next few years, feel far more younger than I probably really am, and boost her site, because it's Dinesha Makeup by Dinesha.
How you spell?
How do I spell it? Okay, there you go, asking good questions, but I don't have. Right, right, right. But what we can do is we can put it in the bottom of the podcast link so people can go to her.
That'd be even better. Yeah.
Right. And she does have a wonderful presence on Instagram. So you can also follow her on Instagram and TikTok, which I'm not a TikToker, but she is. And her company's name is Browsations, Browsations. So I am shouting out her today, and I'm so happy to be not only somebody who participated in the service and hopefully can model how wonderful her service is. But to encourage other people her age, I think she's under 30. I believe that was our conversation. So she's under 30, and as kind as her little sweetheart was, she said, "Yeah, because I ain't working when I'm 50." And I'm thinking, "Ooh, girl, we close to 50 over here. But I got you. I got
But
you."
we're gonna see. We'll see when she get there.
We gonna see. We gonna see. And what else is cool about her is she has her own product line. And so, in addition to being a tattoo artist, she's an esthetician and she has some products that she sells on her site. So, I just want to shout out her, make her feel loved in this moment, let her know that we are going to continue as a part of our village and a part of our rose garden to plant lots of roses. And she's one of our special roses. And we hope to do that all the time and elevate those businesses that are run by Black people that are doing a great job. Every experience I had was overly professional, and again, I am very very happy with the work that she did. So shout out to you, Danisha, and we will make sure I have your right spelling and all that in the bio of the podcast. But also Browsations. Anybody can go and visit Browsations.
Very good. Yeah, shout out to you too, sister, and to all of the viewers and followers as well.
Oh yeah. You know what? I can't wait to see you next week in the Rose Garden. And I just want you to know how much I cherish our time together. And we might not say it enough, but I learn from you. I grow with you, and I need you. I need our experience, and I hope you know that. I hope that this experience is so helpful to me. And if ain't nobody going to tune in and listen, if ain't nobody else going to get anything from it, this 45 minutes that we share really does it's our Ralph and Susie moment, if you remember when we were Ralph and Susie. So I'm so
Feel
happy.
the exact same way. I fully reciprocate that. So I think I receive it and I reflect it back in kind.
And listen, we got businesses over here to go make happen. And I'm watching you, and I know you always are pushing me. So go make your business happen. I'm loving your cap today. Maybe that's going to be your thing. You might have to wear that every session because I just love it. I love it, love it, love it.
I
All right. Have a happy day. See you next week in the Rose Garden.